Hello traders and investors, I'm Ellie Little and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. Take a look at these markets from a neoclassical perspective, and that means each day we're asking ourselves, did anything happen today of significance, right? Something that would tell us what to expect in the coming days. Do a show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday, broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Archived on YouTube. It's under the channel Ellie Little, and if you want to subscribe to the show and you haven't, just reach up in the right hand corner. Anytime I push public content, you'll get a notification. As far as these markets, nothing happening here. I mean, they are, as we can see here, comatose. They don't know what they're doing, and they doing it in a very slow and awkward manner. Pretty much flat on the day. If you look across the indexes, really nothing happened there. Russell got a nice little bump, but that's just because it outran everything to the downside. Oil took a big hit. Oil service stocks again getting hit. If we pull on up, look at the rest of the world, you had it down in Europe. You also had it down pretty much across the board in Asia as well. So bonds were up is the only other number. If we look at the indexes here and we ask ourselves, is there anything of significance? The answer to that question is pretty much a no. Here's the Russell. Here's that little bounce we were talking about. The Russell sold off, almost hit its ABCD target, the bearish one on the way down, and then just kind of stopped going down, which is typically what happens when you do that. Elsewhere, though, they can't lift, and they're trying not to fall. Here's the action of the last week. Pretty much a bloodbath on the way down, a little bit of volume pickup. But again, we're not really doing anything of significance yet. The bar we're coming into, if we're going to talk about something significant, the bar we're coming into, it's barely holding it. This is on the strongest index. Gets up underneath here, right? It's going to go into these bars next. And so, is it just simply setting up for the next fall, for the next shoe to drop, so to speak? We looked like we were going to try to get a little rally on Friday. It gave that up on the Clinton news, and today has no ability to lift. NASDAQ, broad NASDAQ, about the same story. If we go to the S&P, S&P's been hanging down here towards the bottom of this range. So, when I look at all of this, it looks pretty much the same. And I used to do a weekly show, where I kind of outlined these things in more depth on a longer term time frame. Haven't been doing that. It's just too much of my time to do all these things that I do. But if you pull the weekly over and take a look at it, this is not in a bad spot. You're coming back to do a bullish retest regen. Second time back on that one. First time back on this one. As it comes into this area here, you got to expect that they're going to try and buy it again. That's typically the way this works. Now, if they were not to buy this, then I probably would be more concerned. But at this point, it's hard to have more concern other than what's due, and that is that you have a bearish ABCD structure that's trying to play out, right, to take this a little bit deeper. And so if it does play out and takes it deeper, that's actually what it should be doing. Will it continue down? My expectation is no, it won't. That should get bought. And again, neoclassical is about what should happen, and then you monitor what does happen. And when you start seeing things that should happen not happen, then you have to start paying more attention. As long as they do what they're supposed to, then you simply keep riding whatever that trend is that you're trading. And so we're coming back into an area we should see some support. If we don't get that support, then we'll have to be a little bit more worried. If we look over in the world markets, pretty much the same story. Things that are supposed to be happening are still happening. Things that shouldn't be happening haven't happened. And so from that perspective, I can't get that excited one way or the other. Here's the CACs, hanging up here at the top. As long as you have a strong dollar, that makes the euro cheaper, which helps support these markets. And even though they're not taking off, they certainly aren't crumbling down. The only one that is Switzerland. Switzerland, a totally different story. You can see the bottom falling out on this one, and on the weekly, doing the same thing. Swiss market wants to come back and do some testing of this area down here, unfortunately. So all the good that took place there kind of coming unraveled. If you look over in Asia, the one spot that's starting to show that unraveling is the Hong Kong market. Breaks another swing point low on Friday. If you look at it on a weekly, had a huge run, now it's coming back. It's doing a bullish retest regen. So again, you have something that you should be watching of significance, seeing what it does with it as it comes into the full test of that area, which is what it should do on the first time back within 6 bars. If we look at the Hong Kong market, we're not seeing that kind of damage. And so it makes me think that more than likely Hong Kong's probably going to hold, try to push back the other way. This market still looks pretty good from a longer term perspective in terms of what it's doing. Finally, we got an election next week. I've been watching the dollar, been watching the euro to see if we're going to get something there that gives us a clue. The euro getting a little bit of a bounce, nothing special. The dollar trying to hang near the highs, just hanging up there. So, is there anything here that tells us something? And so far, I don't see anything there. Dollar looks like it wants to try to pull back, but that's really just in the context of the move it just made. So, again, I don't think it's really telling us anything. The only thing the market's telling us now is it doesn't know what it wants to do. It's Biden time, trying to figure out what it wants to do. Until it does that, the market's just going to hang, and that's what it's doing. Nobody wants to buy. Nobody really wants to sell. Everybody wants to wait. If they're going to turn out the lights, they want to be the last one out the door. If they want to be the first one to the party, they want to see some other people arrive and then beat them into the door. And so, that's usually the way it works. They're either going to climb all over it at once or try to sell it all at once. And right now, I don't think they're giving us a clue. When you don't get a clue, what you have to do is lean back on what you do know. And what you do know in this market so far is that so far this market has held. It's held its bullish move to the upside. And if you bring the weekly up, you can see that. As long as it holds that, if you're going to lean one way or the other, you got to be leaning that direction. Have yourself a great one. We'll see if anything changes tomorrow. You got a lot of news this week again. I don't know that it's going to change much until this market starts to discount that election because that was what's called into question and put this thing in total limbo. Have yourself a great one. I'll see you next time. Good night.